Look, the next session is called You Are Your Future, Becoming a Powerful Voice and a Better Leader. And we can't think of anybody better to present this to us than Dr. Auma Obama from the Sauti Kuu Foundation, and she's the founder of that organization. So please welcome Dr. Auma Obama, please. Cheers.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. I know it's the last day, and most of you are probably thinking homeward, but thank you for being here to listen to me talk. I'm going to talk about your future, my future, our future, and I'm going to talk about that and give you some insights into my thoughts about becoming a powerful voice and a better leader. This is not IT talk. I'm so sorry for those people who expect me to talk about the internet, about Wi-Fi. I am, in that respect, not very conversant. So I'm going to talk in the context of my foundation and in the context of the African continent. You will be patient with me because obviously I come from the African continent, and all conversations that I have, because it's about my foundation, have to do with what is going on that continent. So the key message that our foundation has, and we work with children from the ages of 4 to 25, is, and I'll use a German statement here and try to translate it into English, is called Lebenslust statt Lebensfrust. I'm saying it in German because my background is having studied in Germany, so that language also is very close to my heart in terms of being able to express myself. So Lebenslust statt Lebensfrust is loosely translated to mean cultivating a zest for life rather than a disillusionment with life. And I was told that I would be talking to young people, so I assume you're all around between the ages of 18 and 25, not any older, so you're all young people. And that is very, very important today when you think of what is going on in the world. How do we keep young people motivated, inspired, with a zest for life and not being disillusioned about life? That is a key message that we want to pass on to the young people we work with. Another key message is opportunities are unlimited. Despite all of what is going on in the world, I honestly, and we honestly believe that opportunities are unlimited, and in particular in the case of the children we work with, poverty is no excuse. That would actually apply in Europe in the meantime, and in North America and the rest of the world, by the way, considering the economic situation in most countries at the moment. So opportunities are unlimited, poverty is not an excuse. Sauti Kuu, the name of my foundation, means powerful voices in Kiswahili. And we work with these children between the ages of 4 to 25 to enable them to have powerful voices, because if you don't have a powerful voice, you cannot become a strong leader. And not only do you have to have a powerful voice, you have to use that powerful voice. So like I said before, some of what I talk about will be specific to the African continent. And this is where I start. So, specific to the African continent, we work to redefine poverty. Like I said, poverty is no excuse, and opportunities are unlimited. But not only that, just because I live in a hut with no running water and electricity does not mean I am poor. As they say in Kenya, are we together on that one? Do you agree? Not really, because you all don't know that. You can live without running water and electricity and not necessarily be poor. So that is one of the things we do about redefining poverty. We work in the rural area of Kenya where people live in the countryside and have 10 acres of land, have 5 acres of land, have even 1 acre of land. They don't live in a small apartment in Berlin, in Kreuzberg, with just room to basically swing a cat and nothing green. So we try to differentiate what it means to be wealthy, what it means to be poor. So just because, I repeat, please remember this, you live without running water and electricity doesn't necessarily mean you are poor. In the Nordic countries, people pay a lot of money to go and stay where there's no running water, no electricity, and not even a wall. If you've ever been there, they have these places they go and stay in summer, and it's like they just go into a hole like a fox, and sleep there, and then go wandering and find the next kind of structure that looks like a hole in the wall and sleep there. And many people pay a lot of money to have that experience. Okay? The other thing we do is we define what development means. I work in the humanitarian sector. It's all about development. It's all about aid. It's all about humanitarian help, etc., etc. We try to redefine that because I have a problem with the idea of us being the developing world in the South and the rest of the world being the developed world. What does that mean? Just like I said, just because I have no running water and electricity doesn't mean I'm poor. Doesn't mean I'm not developed, because I'm differently developed. I have other priorities, and that is what we have to learn on the continent, that we have to have other priorities around what is important for our communities. We need to go back to basics. So being developed in the Western way is not necessarily a good thing for us. I give an example. Most of the cities in the West are completely concrete and cemented. Everything, you don't see grass, you don't see earth, you don't see any green. And then we talk about environmental catastrophes where, for example, in Germany, in Ahrtal, there are floods and houses are flooded and people lose their livelihoods. But it's not a natural disaster. It's a man-made disaster because we're so developed that we don't want to see any earth. We close the earth off because we want everything neat and tidy. So we have to question the idea of development and what development is. So we redefine that. We try to change the mindset of the young people we work with, because in order to be able to develop and move forward, to become a leader, you need to have the right mindset. And the right mindset is that you're not a victim. One, we say you're not necessarily poor in the Western way. You are developed, and also you must have a mindset that says that you are somebody. You're not a victim. You can do something to improve your life. Like we said, opportunities are unlimited, poverty is no excuse. We want to redefine, and this is a very, very important one for us, the perception of Africa. And I will say this 3 times. Africa is not a country. Africa is not a country. Africa is not a country. But most people who talk about Africa, who stand on podiums and talk about Africa as if it's a country. Das Land Afrika, that's the German version, the country Africa. And even we ourselves as Africans catch ourselves talking about Africa within a European context and talking about Africa as if it were a country. Africa is 54 different countries, so diverse, so different, that when I go to Togo, I feel more foreign in Togo than I do in London, because we were colonized by the Brits and not by the French. So again, I repeat, Africa is not a country. That we work on too, because it's part of what defines your identity. I'm starting like this because you cannot become a leader if you do not know who you are. If you do not know self and you do not have an identity, you cannot become a leader. It is impossible. So, now my thoughts on becoming a powerful voice and a better leader. Leadership is the ability to inspire, to influence and guide others, to direct others, to empower them to achieve their full potential. That is what we do at Sauti Kuu. That's why we're called powerful voices, because that is exactly what we do with the little 4-year-old to the 25-year-old. This is why, if you can do this, you will be able to contribute effectively to making young people and people who work under you follow your goal, follow your vision, follow what it is you want to achieve with them. Because as a leader, you create a channel to do great things. That is the idea. That's what we all want to do. You have to have certain skills. For sure you do. Communication is one, and I'll elaborate a little bit more on that. Decision-making, empathy, resilience, because it's not easy, and I will use myself as an example to explain why I say that. You have to have the ability to foster collaboration and trust and teamwork. And one that is so, so important to me is trust. And again, that one I will elaborate on a little bit more later. So how do you become that leader? How do you have that powerful voice? I'll use as an example what we do at my foundation with the children and young people. And remember, we work with children and young people from 4 to 25, and we use the same method. We talk to 4-year-olds on an equal playing field level. In German, they say auf Augenhöhe. We talk to them not as if they're adults, but as if they're human beings who actually understand what we're saying. Because a 4-year-old can talk. A 4-year-old knows what's good and bad. A 4-year-old can negotiate spaces, can negotiate situations, and we acknowledge that and we work with that. So one of our pillars is called personality development. That is clear and obvious what that means. But what is hidden behind that is that you are your future. And that, like I say, applies to even the 4-year-old. You determine your future. And how can you do that? You must first of all be aware of self. Who are you? What is your identity? And what we say is that 3 things that I love to use as an example is my light, my voice, my fire. My light, if I may, and I'm probably going to end up using up a little bit of my time a bit more because I want you to do this exercise with me. It's a bit dark, but look at the person next to you and look in their eyes. Don't be shy, don't be embarrassed. Just turn to the person next to you and look into their eyes. Just do that 2 seconds. I'm running out of time, so please try. Do that for me. Just humor me. And what do you see in the eyes of whoever you're looking at? Remember I said, my light, my voice, my fire. Do you see anything other than you're embarrassed because you're looking at a stranger and you're not feeling very comfortable? Do you see anything? Okay, I'll give it away. When somebody dies, what happens? What do you do when somebody dies? And it's in all cultures. We actually close their eyes, which means that the light in their eyes has gone out. Now look at each other's eyes now and you'll see a white light. I promise you, whoever you're looking at, look at them again. You'll see a white light. Do you see a little white light? If anybody knows anything about film, when people make films, what happens is the cameraman makes sure that there's a light on the protagonist because you need that white light. Because what that light does is it gives you life. Because if there's no light in your eyes, you're dead. And that's why we close the eyes. And actually people say the light has gone out. What we tell the children is you must look people in the eye. Because if I don't see the light in your eye, you don't exist for me. You're not alive. So that is the light that we talk about. We talk about the voice, your powerful voice. You must use that voice. We talk about the fire in you, and this fire in you is what enables you to use your potential in order to improve your life, to show what you can do, to become that great leader that you actually are. So you must be seen, the light in your eye, you must be heard, your voice, and you must have that fire in order to live out your potential. And lastly, you must take action. You must be active. You must do something. You cannot be passive. You cannot be a victim. It is your life. You are your future. You must define yourself. Do not let others define you. And I'm talking to you as an African. You know how often we've been defined? You know in how many ways we've been defined? Do you know how I continue to be defined because I'm an African woman? I should be here in some wonderful African attire, you know, submissive, and exactly that picture, and this is what I had when I started studying in Germany, was the expectation that I would be some very easy to deal with sort of a person. People were very disappointed when they really had to deal with me because I asked questions, and I don't always do what people tell me to do. And that was really not African. I was told many times. So I had to define who I was. I had to determine my identity in order to be able to move forward and do greater things and be more than what people were expecting me to be. So you've got to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, and your beliefs. You must know you. You've got to recognize your weaknesses in order to grow. This is all about leadership. And I'm going to give some examples to show how difficult it is to do that. You have to leverage, as you recognize your weaknesses, you've got to leverage your strengths. And you're leveraging your strengths not just to improve yourself, but also to inspire others. Because that is one of the key things about leadership. And that is what is the beautiful thing about leadership. It should be something nice, something that makes you feel good, something that makes you feel safe. I talked about trust. Many of us are leaders because we've got that kind of job. We're managers, we've got people under us, but we're not leaders in the way I'm talking about it here. I also have people work under me, and I have so many failings. This is the ideal case scenario, by the way, guys, so don't worry about it. I also don't necessarily represent all of the things I say. I strive towards it, but I don't always succeed. One of the other things you've got to do as you examine self is do not fear your strength, especially we women. And that is something which is really amazing. And like I said, I'm going to use German examples because I studied in Germany for a very long time and I basically, became an adult here. There's a saying in Germany, Familie hält sich zurück. And basically this applies very often to the children or to the women, or somehow you've got to hold back on yourself and let others, more worthy people, move forward. And that is something that is so wrong in a lot of us. I would almost say all of us, but I don't want to, let me not generalize. But we hold our strength back. We are afraid of our own greatness. I've had this many times where I feel I am a girl among boys. I'm the only girl in my family. And very many times I felt I had to hold back because my brothers were supposed to go in front. They needed to look good, our husbands or whatever, so that they don't feel bad, they don't feel threatened. Sorry, guys, no offense. But we need to stop this. Your strength is the greatness that you are, especially women. I'm talking to women and I'm talking to Africans because we hold back and we reduce our strength in order to make room for others. So what are the skills that we need in order to be leaders? Our communication skills. And this one for me is one of my key peeves, or I don't even know the English word for it, because especially in Europe, guys, what is going on? Where did good morning go? Where did how are you go? Where did a smile go? The customer service here is appalling. It's terrible. And then you go to the manager and say, this person didn't treat me really well. They didn't talk to me. And that, selber schuld. Kann ich nicht dafür. Gehen Sie doch woanders hin. Sorry, let me say that in English. Your own fault. Go somewhere else. We don't have time. I hear that. For real. What happened to communication? How can you be a leader? How can you manage people? How can you even communicate with people if you cannot be just, let me not say nice, just polite, just courteous? What happened to common courtesy? So communication skills I put right at the top because we're losing those skills. And it's partly because we're all on our phones. Sorry for those who are on their phones right now. We're all, because I'm assuming you're posting that I'm here. All on our phones. We sit at a table, we don't talk to each other. Everybody's on their phone. We don't communicate anymore. We need to get back to communicate. And we need to be brave enough to say, put those phones away, talk to me. Talk to each other. That is leadership skill. Actively listen to others. Listen, really listen. Really listen. And don't just listen to the guys at your level. Listen to everybody. Even the cleaning lady has something to say. Listen to each other, talk to each other. And when you talk to each other, be respectful and polite. That is going away. Who travels like I do? Who goes to the airport? The security people, for goodness sake. I don't have a gun, and even if I did, smile and talk to me. It costs you nothing. Oh, please don't quote me on that one. That was a bad example. Just be courteous to each other because life is so difficult already as it is. And that is where leadership skills shine. When you see somebody who is actively able to interact with people, it builds trust. And this is so difficult to build trust. We need to learn to start trusting each other more. We need to be able to have meaningful connections, and you can only have meaningful connections if you communicate. Communication is also like networking. You're all here to network. And that means saying good morning, hello, how are you? How was your day? Be brave enough to be nice. Do we have to say it that way? Be brave enough to be nice. Imagine. And if somebody is not worthy of that in your team, good leadership also knows to drop dead wood. Get rid of people. Sorry, that sounds really terrible, but it's true. I manage people, I employ people, and I often don't do this, and it's really, really hard. It gives you a lot of problems. Another thing, emotional intelligence. The B in boss does not stand for bully. So if you're a leader, if you're managing people, do not bully people. Do not push your weight about because you're the boss. It doesn't make you a boss, it just makes you somebody that people fear. Because in order to work together and build strong relationships and a strong team with trust and mutual respect, you need to treat people well. You need to have very good interpersonal skills. So understand and manage people, but also manage your own emotions. Manage how you behave, manage how you feel in order to be a good leader. You know? And you know what? To tell you the truth, understanding and managing my emotions, I fail miserably because I get too close to my staff. And I keep being told, boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. And I can't help it because I like them. And I don't know this thing about you're managing for you can't really like them, you can't really be friends. I find that so difficult. So I fail because very often I'm sending mixed messages. But you've got to learn to manage those emotions. Recognize and empathize with the emotions of the others as well. And this I do really great, but I do it to an extreme, which means that I often get exploited because of it. I do it too much. So you've got to find a balance. You've got to know the boundaries in order to be a good leader. You've got to be resilient. You've got to grow a thick skin, as they say in English, because you cannot be offended. You cannot be offended. And it's just as simple as that. You cannot sulk. You cannot be upset. You cannot complain because you are in charge. They come to complain to you. They come to be upset. They get offended, but not you. You must be above that, and you must find a way. And I once saw something on the internet that was really interesting for me. Somebody who was working out, and he had a really stressful job. He wrote about how in front of his house there's a tree. And before he goes into the house, all of his frustration, all of his problems, he parks them on that tree before he goes inside the house. He hangs them kind of mentally on that tree, and then he goes in the house, and now it's his family time. I tried to send that to my daughter and my son-in-law and all of those people. They were kind of like, yeah. And the next day, they still had their issues. So it doesn't work so easy, but I found that symbolically really good to try and separate, because you're in charge. You're the boss. You cannot afford to be offended. Integrity and ethical conduct. Lead by example. That's the only way. You lead by example because we watch you, we see you. I get seen how I behave. Have I got integrity? Am I honest? What is my ethical conduct like? Am I transparent? Do my team know what I'm doing? All of this is really difficult to do because sometimes you don't want to tell them everything because you make yourself vulnerable because they can attack you. If you show certain emotions, they can attack you. They can use it against you, you know? Again, trust. So big, trust. That is the foundation of leadership. If they can trust you, you can lead them, yeah? But trust is earned through your ethical behavior and your transparency and also the kind of environment you create. And you create that environment only by leading in an honest way, being very honest. Another thing we do is education and training with our young people because we tell them information, and I don't like to stop here, so you could say information is power, but I say information is powerful. You must be informed, and more importantly, you must stay informed. And now specific to Africa on the same topic, for example, on the continent, we have so much knowledge on that continent. We have so much expertise. There are thousands like myself. I'm not unusual in Africa. In Germany, I get told very often, oh, you're the way you are because you studied in Germany or you've had a lot of Western influence. And I say, no, I was the way I am when I was 8 and sitting at a fireplace, a 3-stone fireplace with my grandmother and arguing why, as a girl, I had to go and wash the dishes and my brothers didn't. It's got nothing to do with Europe. You guys don't get credit for who I am. You get credit for helping me grow, but who I am is who I was even then. So, specific to Africa, we need to own our intelligence. We need to own our expertise. We had here the guru, IT guru from Ghana. There's so many of us who have that potential. There's so many of us who are that. We need to own it. We need to talk about it. The Europeans don't have any problem talking about celebrating who they are and what they are. We need to celebrate our own. Others must know that we have it. We need to match our core competencies to the opportunities available. I did talk about opportunities unlimited. And there's so many opportunities, but we don't take them because, again, we hold back. We are defined by what the West tells us we are, which disadvantages us and doesn't allow us to use our core competencies. I am a victim of that. Brain drain. I lived in Europe, I won't say how long, I tried to say I'm 29 forever. I lived in Europe for a long time before I figured out how to go back and live on the continent and actually work there and earn my living and have the standard of living that I consider my right. Yeah? But actually, what we do is we have partnerships that don't allow us to do that because our expertise and our qualifications are defined by the West. That has to stop. And it cannot be because they hold the purse strings, they tell us who is the expert and who is not. And notice I'm talking to you guys as if you're Africans like me. We're all together in this. But that is the situation that we face again and again. The balance is tipped, so we become insecure, we're needy, we view ourselves as victims, and we view ourselves as inferior. How can you be a leader under those circumstances? And this is all because we're dependent on aid. We're dependent on money. We're dependent on partnerships where the money side of things is tipped towards the West. We must fight on an equal playing field in order to be able to be the leaders that we really are. We must dictate terms of engagement. We cannot keep on looking to Europe for recognition, to create jobs for us. We already have a situation now in Kenya, and I don't say it in any bad way. I have nothing against bus drivers, but Germany is recruiting bus drivers from Kenya as we speak. They're being trained. And I ask myself, we have professionals who are cleaning toilets in Europe. How is that okay? We need to change that. We need to change that. So, back to leadership. Leadership requires continuous learning. What am I capable of? My skills. Leadership is a journey, not a destination. We must always seek opportunities to learn, to educate ourselves. We must be humble, but we must do. We must learn by doing, because the more knowledge we gain, the better we get at what we are doing. We must be curious, stay open-minded. Always ask questions. There's no dumb question. Ask why, and learn to say no. And if you get a no when you're asking questions, it's not a problem, because by asking 50%, you could have got a yes. So you're not doing badly when you ask. If you keep quiet, it's 100% no. That's what I tell young people every day. So leadership means having the courage to be able to ask why and also to say no. And also you need to use what you have in your reach. So work on that. Your vision, your purpose, it's essential. That is what you have in your hand. Your goals, your plan, what do you want to do? The burning passion. Those are the tools that you have to work with in order to prove yourself as a leader. What is your plan? And I tell young people, wake up every day, every morning with a plan. And actually talk depression, talk mental health issues. If you have a plan, you can get through the day. Even if the plan is to wake up in the morning and you're feeling really low and you're in the hotel, you get up and go to have breakfast. My daughter did that for me the other day. I was feeling kind of tired and low, and she said, "Mom, get up, go and have breakfast in the hotel restaurant." And I felt immediately better because that was a plan. Didn't seem like one, but it was a plan. So you must have a clear vision, direction, passion, and that way you'll inspire and motivate. But passion alone doesn't do it. I'm talking from experience. You need structure. So don't think because you're passionate about something, you'll achieve anything. Because you worry people. If you're a leader, they need structure because they need to be reassured you know what you're doing. Even if they don't know, you know. Because you're leading. You need to guide them. And the majority of us are comfortable. We are willing to hide behind somebody, follow somebody. We have so many insecurities. And we're okay, let him take responsibility. Let him be accountable. I don't want it. Many people are given the job of leadership say, I don't want it. Because I don't want to have to be responsible. So what a leader does is creates a safe space, a safe environment, so everybody can be empowered and collaborate towards whatever goal or vision you have, but also in order to empower you to also bring out the leader in yourself. So don't do everything as a leader. Delegate, support your team, support the process. Yeah? So the leader doesn't know it all. You need a team. And give credit where credit is due. Because that's the other thing. Very often, we don't use the collective intelligence and creativity. We kind of make it look like we are the ones who've done it. How many of us have been in situations where we did something and then whoever was above us went and presented as if it was theirs? It happens again and again. So in a safe space that you create, an environment where everybody gets credit for what they do, you're able to lead better. And you're fostering a culture where they're all responsible and all accountable. So you don't carry the load alone. You share the load, and people learn to also work independently because they trust you and you trust them. So it's really, really important. And I close, I know my time is running out. You need to also be able to be flexible. Allow others to be able to ask why and to say no. And also to give feedback that is taken seriously. And when they give you feedback that shows that you got it wrong, then you adjust. You change the plans and adapt them. Because that is what a true leader is about. And the last thing I have to say about leadership, which for me is a really beautiful way of putting it, and I don't know that we really do it, is the servant leadership. Really beautiful. Servant leadership, where you lead The concept of leadership is to grow other people. This is really difficult. Let's not lie about it. Even like I said, I employ people, and it's really difficult to do this. To let people grow and trust and let go of your vision and give it to others, it's like your baby. It's not easy. And you are serving as a role model, an advocate for the people who you are leading. That is like turning your brain around upside down and saying, what? You have to be really strong to be able to do that. But you have to empower them to use their full potential, because that's the only way they'll work for you. And what I always say to my team is, I would never put you down, because when your light shines, my light shines brighter. I believe that is what servant leadership means. And this is all that's required to be a leader. Nothing more. It's not much, is it? That's all that's required. And that's what Sauti Kuu works to do with these young people. We work to enable young people to become effective leaders who inspire positive change and make a meaningful impact in their communities and beyond. That's what Sauti Kuu does. So thank you for listening to me, and I hope my words will inspire you to bring out the strong leaders that are already in all of you. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going into overtime, guys. We're going rogue. So I had a bunch of sort of geek-tastic questions that I wanted to ask, but rather than that, I wanted to jump on something that you had mentioned earlier, tying together leadership and then also the leadership potential, as well as Western-centric resources. So we at CloudFest work with a group called Groundbreaker that has a project called Groundbreaker Talents, which runs a coding school for women in Uganda. And we're finding that the amount of potential, like the visionary and leadership potential, is insane down there. And companies who are interested in developing talent would have to be idiots to ignore that. And I am not in a room full of idiots. So I want to bridge that to something that you said in the past, is that we're doing philanthropy wrong. The companies are doing philanthropy wrong. And this is an audience of people who are positioned to do philanthropy. So how should we do it right?
I think what is done wrong is that people do humanitarian work from a position of, these are poor people, these are victims, we're coming to help them. So it puts them already on a back foot, because now they're benevolent to whoever it is they're working with. And I think what it's about is first understand the context of where you're going to work. And once you understand the context, look for local partners who also understand the context and can explain it. Because you cannot come from a different culture and try and cut and paste how you believe things should be into a different culture. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked for years. I'll give you an example. Kenya has been doing development aid for 60 years now. German-Kenyan partnership, 60 years. And we've still got the same problems. Still the same things going wrong. And I ask, guys, if it's not working, stop. Go back to the boardroom and figure out how to get it right. So I think the philanthropy based on, oh, they're poor, we have to help them, and we are better off, is wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah.
I have an analogy for that. You guys used to say, oh, they're poor, let's give them fish, right? So you gave us fish, right? Then you guys said, oh, wait, no, let's teach them how to fish. Okay, so you taught us how to fish. Didn't quite work. Then you said, okay, what do we do now? And what I always say is that instead of giving us fish, instead of teaching us how to fish, ask us if we eat fish. And then let's start the conversation. It's so simple. Talk to us. Yeah. It's about dialogue. And that doesn't happen.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And another round of applause, please, for Dr. Auma Obama.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay.